I know a lot of school heads have sent out a letter this week to parents about the school funding situation, and I've seen that letter, and in fact all the West Sussex MPs wrote to the organisers of that letter giving our view, and hopefully that's been included in the versions that have gone out. School funding has been a big issue for some time. It's been a big issue for me and for my colleagues in West Sussex, and so we have been lobbying the government hard to change the funding formula and to come up with additional money. We still haven't got enough money, absolutely, and we need more money, but actually there has been a good deal of progress. Now, for the first time, we have a national funding formula as to the way the funding for schools is doled out nationally. That is a great improvement on before. That formula is not perfect yet, and it still gives too much preference to inner city schools and particularly London schools. And the gap between London schools and West Sussex schools is still too wide, and we'll be doing more to try and narrow that gap. Secondly, because of our lobbying, we got an extra £28 million from the government for West Sussex schools. And for secondary schools in particular, that can mean an extra up to 12%, which is going to be a big help. Still not enough, but that is progress, and I think we just need to give credit that actually we have achieved quite a lot. Now, what I'm concerned about in that letter as well is that comparisons are made between West Sussex and Hackney. There is a big gap. If you are a secondary school in Worthing, you're getting something like £5.5 million. If you're an equivalent secondary school in somewhere like Hackney, you're getting something like £9 million. That gap's too wide. It has narrowed. It needs to narrow more. But we've also got to take into account that in Hackney, for example, over 50% of children there don't have English as a first language. That compares in West Sussex with under 10%. In Hackney, something like 30% of children qualify for free school meals because of deprivation. The equivalent figure in West Sussex is only 8%. So that's why there's always going to be that big differential, because of the additional challenges you have in places like Hackney. But I think that gap is still too wide, and I'm going to be fighting really hard with the Treasury, with the new Education Secretary, to say we're grateful we've changed the formula, but we've still got to do more work to make sure that pupils in West Sussex get not just a fairer deal, but get a properly fair deal, so they're properly funded, so that we can make sure they've got the resources in those schools to provide the very best education. But the final point is, this is not just about money. That's an important factor. It's also about standards. And one thing I'm very worried about, and again I know my other West Sussex colleagues are, is that West Sussex at Key Stage 2, for example, we still lag way down the rankings, certainly in terms of reading, writing and arithmetic. At some levels, West Sussex schools rank 135th out of 150 local authorities. That's just not good enough. So we're going to be challenging the Education Department, the County Council and individual schools and heads to see, with that new money and with the prospect of more new money coming in, how we can make sure that improves standards, because the very most important thing for our kids is to make sure they get a fantastic education. They come out of schools with the best possible education under their belt, equipped to go on to sixth forms, to apprenticeships, to colleges, to university. And at the moment, although we've made great strides, we've got 1.9 million children up and down the country who are now being taught, more children being taught in good or excellent schools. I want more of them to be in West Sussex. I want more of them to be in my constituency in Ada and Worthing, and that's what I'll continue to fight for as one of my biggest priorities in 2018.